Alright, we are live. Greetings, fellow traders. I hope everybody had a wonderful and blessed weekend, and happy Sunday evening. So, let me make sure the sound's coming through okay here. One sec. Taking a second to load here. One sec. There we go. Alright, we're good. Alright, so let me get this tweeted out here so everybody can join in here. One second. Alright. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Good, good, good. Alright, so here we are. Another fresh evening. So futures are open, and we're starting a fresh week with a fresh trading discussion. So today we're going to be talking about this week we're going to be talking about day trading sector rotation. Notice the little shell game, right? So it's like da 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 da. There's always these magic shells going on with sectors, right? So today we're basically this week we're going to cover a couple major sectors, and then we're going to talk about comparing the sectors towards the end of the week. So it should be pretty interesting. Today we're going to be talking about the semis, right? The SMH, so a very important sector. Before we do this though, everything we're going to talk about is for educational purposes only and not investment advice. So please take a moment to review this disclaimer. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Good, good, good. All right, so what we're going to do this evening is we're going to take a look and see where we left off at the market last week, and then we're going to take a look at the futures and see what we might have setting up going into tomorrow, and then we'll get into the topic, and then we'll do questions and chart requests. So let's get started. So SPX, we finished up a little bit, right? So they managed to close it green on Friday. It was quite a day. The monthly chart, though, look at that big rejection here, upper shadow off the upper Bollinger Band, right? So some pretty interesting stuff there. Weekly chart, this is very interesting. Is we originally filled this open gap right here, and then we had this red. It wasn't really a bearish engulfing candle because the real body has to engulf the prior real body, but the whole candle did engulf it. We got a little downside movement off of that going into last week. We still have this open gap below on the weekly chart, and as we talked about, we have this cloud canyon right here. A lot of times these shifts like this in the cloud, especially these big drops, can cause like a gravitational pull, right? And they can also kind of obviously be the start of some volatility, right? The RSI kind of rejected its overbought levels. Right, it's kind of drifting its way down right now, but we'll see how it goes. Because on the daily chart, right? Oh, this is from earlier. So on the daily chart, right, we're still in the trend box, right? So each breakdown hasn't really been a confirming breakdown. We haven't seen volume, right? This was a nice candle breaking down below these lows. It's just a momentum move. It's just day trade type stuff. And then even Friday, right? We pushed down again below those lows. Nice momentum move, right? But we bounced off the 50-day moving average. We left a lower shadow right here, and it was also declining volume last week. If you look at the SPY, you can see that. And so pretty interesting stuff, right? So we did. I don't know if we quite filled this gap right here, but this gap, and that was the weekly gap area right here. So we'll see how it holds, right? So we're still got some trend box shenanigans. There's a couple interpretations of this right now. Some think that Elliott wave-wise that this could be a zigzag formation, right, which is a 5-3-5 move, which means we might see a more impulsive move to the downside, which would fill that weekly gap, and potentially if we have the use like a symmetrical, use some symmetry right here. Let's get that right there. If we use some symmetry, right, we might see the bottom of the cloud right before we bounce again. So we're in a corrective pattern right now. Right now it's just a little bit tricky, right? Whether we really want to reverse right now or if it's just just correcting, right? So here's another key level that we could be looking at too. So it's going to be very interesting going into this week. We also have quad witching this week too, which is where all 4 major expirations happen when your futures contract, futures options, and such. So we have that going on this week too, and that usually leads to some shenanigans towards the end of the week, right? So we have that going on as well. So pretty cool stuff. So let's take a look at the price action and see what happened on Friday. So Friday was actually pretty cool price action, right? So as opposed to Thursday, which was kind of cool too, right? We had a really compressed open, and then we flushed, right? So it was a contraction to expansion, right? Then we rallied and then flushed again. Friday gave a couple range bound action, right? So we pushed down quickly, right, and then we bounced, and then we lost those levels again from those prior highs, and then it pushed its way back down again, right? So and then we bounced there pretty decently off of that 50-day moving average on the daily chart, right? So and then a little bit of a downside movement into the close. So let's take a look here. These are the levels that we provide reminders before each market open. You can see here how important the levels that we use are, right? This is a major daily pivot level right here, also the 15-orb high, right? 15-orb low, broke down there, and then we finally hit this open gap that we talked about earlier, and left the gap right there a little bit. We got into it. That was what I was talking about earlier, and basically just kind of bounced up off of that. So so pretty interesting stuff there. And well, let's take a look at the futures and see how they're behaving this evening going into to Sunday night. And so let's take a look. So they are generally pretty bullish right here. And what I've already done is, this is in our group, we look at these. What is going on here? If I okay, it's bouncing around. So this is what we look at, right? So we love using Fibonacci's, right? So we pointed this out this evening in our member Discord. This is for folks that like to trade futures. We have a futures channel where folks like to trade futures all the time. So we had a nice gap up actually from Friday here. So so we kind of rallied a little bit here. This is the after hours type stuff, right? We closed up and then we gapped up today, and look what we did right off of the first move, right? We pulled back. This was actually a 618 off of the first move, right? So if you kind of put a Fibonacci right here, perfect 618, right? And then we rallied off of that a little bit more, and then we got this move right here, which was about a between the 236 and the 382, so nothing major off of that, but we did rally off of that again, nice little pullback, right? And then we pulled back again, right? So you can see right here, this is off the 50% retrace inside 5, and then worked our way back up again, strong candle, right? Decent volume. Then we pulled back again to the prior levels, and just kind of climbing our way up right here, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. Inside 5, right? We'll see how much strength they get into the evening. Obviously not a lot of volume here, but it's looking very interesting going into tomorrow. So let's see how this holds going into tomorrow. So we've got, what we could do is we could actually put a channel on this. Just go like this here, and just see how that holds going into tomorrow morning. And this is going to be the key levels that we're tracking going into Monday, and seeing how strong those goes. And then other than that, we have our levels and we have our signal zones that we'll be tracking tomorrow morning. So be sure to check out the Good Morning Market Prep video to see where we're at and what we're looking at then. Okay, so good stuff. So so let's take a look at the discussion for this week. So this week we're going to be talking about day trading sector rotation, and today we're going to be talking about the SMH. So what do we mean by sector rotation? Okay, so big money, right? They keep their money moving, right? The big institutions, the big money that moves things, right? They keep their money moving. They don't just keep it stuck somewhere, right? So chances are, right, if you see something moving down, something else is probably moving up, unless we get into like, a full crash zone where everything is just flushing, right? So the key is to know your sectors and to see where money is going, right? If you see like the SMH is going down or tech is going down, but you see like that the home builders are going up, well, chances are money is rotating out of the rotating out of tech and rotating into home builders. And so so we do see that that action happen a lot, and that really helps us on the day trade side to see where there's relative strength. So today we're going to be talking about the SMH, a really key sector to look at. So what is the SMH? The SMH is the semiconductors, right? So this is the generally one of the better ETFs to track this, right? So the ETFs, the semiconductors tend to be, as you guys have known, tend to be one of the big market leaders, right? The big market leaders for, let me clear this this chart out right here, tends to lead the market, right? So what I'm going to do is right now I'm going to go to studies, and I'm going to go to add studies. I'm going to add compare with, and I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to put the SPX up here. So let me do that right now. Okay, so you can kind of see how interesting this is, right? So they tend to give a better movement, better indication of where the market is heading, right? So so right now we can see that they were mostly moving balanced right here, but when they're kind of overlapped right this, you can see the semiconductors leading the way down, the market goes down. Semiconductors go up, the market goes up, right? So this has been a major tool. It's a slight leading indicator sometimes of the market, and it's very interesting, right? So what we can see is that the semis really got weak, the Qs got weak, tech got weak over these last couple days, and that has really helped us gauge the market. Very powerful sector to monitor. The other thing is that I kind of want to point out this week are what are the key stocks that we look for in each of these. So when we see the sectors rotating each day, right? So if we can see that the the SMH is down in the morning. Let me take a look here. Yeah, when we see the SMH is down in the morning, make sure everything's coming through okay. We see the SMH is down in the morning, and it's working its way down, but other sectors are going up, right? That is a good indicator that, hey, that money is flowing out of these sectors and they're going into other ones, right? So the SMH is a really cool one, and then what we like to do is if we can see it's going down and we want to trade the SMH and we can see some relative views, then we go to the big names that are happening in there, right? So NVIDIA is one of the big ones on our go-to list that we look at right there. You can see this, right? Big drop down right here. So the semiconductors dropping down. NVIDIA NVIDIA is dropping down, right? So semiconductors going down. AMD, this is another big one we like to trade, right? AMD goes down too. AMD is actually pushing a little bit lower than everything else right now, right? Those are the two big names in the side. And there's some other ones, right? There's MRVL that are pretty big, Intel sometimes. So you get some of those names right there. But AMD and NVIDIA are very, very big. So if you see the semiconductors moving, we really want to take a look at these names to see if we can trade those intraday, because usually the SMH doesn't really offer much option activity for us. So, but when we see the sector moving, right, and a lot of these names are moving in harmony, then we zone in and we look at the stocks that we like to trade to see how they're setting up, right? So one of the things you can kind of look at, right, is here intraday, right? You can see what the SMH was doing intraday. Right, so the SMH was chopping around, and then it really started to break down, right? It lost its 15-hour blow here at about 12:15. So once that started to break down there, right, you look at your AMD and see what that's doing, right? Well, at about 12:15, it gave you a beautiful shooting star candle right here off of the ADMA, and also some other key levels too, but off the ADMA. And that flushed really nicely. So sometimes just tracking those sectors can lead us into a nice trade off of a stock that we're comfortable trading, right? In fact, here NVIDIA broke down as well. This was at 60 anchor level right here, but it had an upper shadow as well. But look how compared to AMD, right? And AMD was the weaker looking name, right? We did have the upper shadows right here, but that shooting star candle on AMD was nice. So what we would do is at that point here, we're already dropping, right? We're just kind of holding these levels, and that little retrace right there to the ADMA of shooting star, very, very nice right there with a nice push to the downside off of that one, right? So, so that can be really helpful. We're going to profile a couple other sectors this week, and then at the end of the week, we're going to show how we can compare those and see to help us kind of zone in on what's strong and what's weak. So anyway, good stuff, guys. I hope you guys found that helpful. At this point, if anybody has any questions or chart requests, please feel free to plug those in the chat window, and we'll get through as many as we can and try to wrap up as early as possible so we can get a good night's sleep and have another awesome trading day and trading week starting tomorrow. So good stuff. So let's take a look. So Shirley sending a few in via email. And again, thank you everybody for keeping Shirley in your thoughts and prayers as she gets better all the time. So AMD was the first one on the list, right? So good. So we looked at the semis, right? We looked and see how they were doing this week. And obviously they're breaking down right now. So this is very, very comparable to what the market looks like right now. You know, it looks like a zigzag formation, sort of like an A, B, possibly C move down. Now we got some key levels right here. The bottom of the trend box right now is the 75 level, right? But if we break down below here with any momentum, we have the 50-day, but we're also getting into an open gap right here. And so what we'd want to see is if we can really push into this cloud on the daily chart and then get that gap filled. There's another gap down here too that was before earnings. So this could get very interesting here on AMD. So right now it's starting to break below one of its bump lines, and then we'll see how it goes. It had like 4 bump lines at like one point right here. So it's been slowly kind of cracking those, and now we just have to see how it holds. Right? If it holds all this as support, the 50-day, the cloud, and all that, right? This corrective pattern may be over, and we may start a fresh impulsive wave up. So some pretty interesting stuff there at AMD. Let's take a look at PayPal. Not AMD, PayPal. PayPal. Okay, so PayPal, pretty similar, right? We've seen a lot of breakdown, a lot of these names right here. So gap filled recently, right? It's holding the cloud with a lower shadow right now. Some volume came in there. So let's see how it holds, right? This is kind of looking a little bit like we might think AMD would look like if it did get into the cloud, but it left you with a lower shadow right there. A little bit tricky. So again, just watch these Friday lows to see if they hold. If not, we may see a bounce out of the cloud on PayPal. So we got to see how that looks too. Apple, of course. So Apple, guys, remember, just did the stock split, right? So statistically, 2 days after the stock split, it goes up. And then 10 days after the stock split, it goes down, right? So here's your 2 days right here, and it gave you the third right there after the stock split, and then boom, boom, boom. So we're like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we got day 10 coming up, right? So we'll see, it'll still be down from then. But right now we got a lower shadow off the 50-day moving average, and it's still holding its macro trend line, right? So let's see how that goes going in tomorrow. Futures are pretty strong right now, so if they stay strong going in tomorrow, we'll see if maybe they'll start buying up Apple again. Okay, so oil has been getting hit a lot recently, right? So we actually had this pretty cool reversal candle right here, big upper shadow, gapped up, and then flushed, and then we kind of came down off of that right here. So CVX is looking pretty interesting. Again, just keep watching those lows and see how it holds them. And then another interesting one is Dry, right? So this is your restaurants, good representative stock of the restaurant industry. So it's kind of hanging in there right now. We got these geometric lines. That's holding pretty well. It's only its 200-day moving average, so just kind of see how that holds, right? If we can continue to push our way up right here, so we can get over that geometric line and try to work our way up on Dry. So good stuff. Thank you, Shirley. I appreciate it. Andrew, what's going on? Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, so NVIDIA, great one right there. So cool thing about NVIDIA is that it is still holding its macro trend line, right? So again, guys, all this stuff is getting really extended off of over their moving averages and also over the macro trend line. So a lot of times when that happens, we pull back and then we see if we can get a bounce off of that, right? So we had this nice lower volume pullback right here. Ended up getting a 2-day bounce off of that. We pulled back again, and so let's see how that holds. This is not a bad area for NVIDIA to try to start working its way back up again if the market wants to be strong and if the semiconductors want to be strong. And we also got Zoom. Zoom is very interesting. So Zoom, we're tracking here as well. So it gave a Morningstar reversal the other day, and then it actually gapped up off of that pretty nicely, gave a good little push up, right? And one of the things we like about Morningstar reversals are the potential pullbacks after the Morningstar reversals for a buyable area. So we've pulled back to about the 50% retrace from the kind of this includes the pre-market levels right here from the Morningstar reversal, and we're bouncing off the ADME on this one. So let's see if that holds and if we can get some strength back in Zoom. That would be very interesting on Zumba. So good stuff there. And Apple, of course, we just look at that. Great minds think alike. So Apple and PayPal we just reviewed. Apple with the lower shadow off the 50-day moving average. PayPal under the 50-day, but trying to hold on to the cloud a little bit. And then Square, another payment processor as well, looks very similar to PayPal. Closed right just below the 50-day moving average. Nice little bounce here off the daily cloud. So let's see if we can do that and try to get back over the ADMA on that one. It had a double inside day, right? So remember, if you can't break out of the double inside day, it likes to test the double inside day bottoms, and that's exactly where we closed right here. So a little bit of caution on it, right? It might be trying to do a bear flag, but again, it just retested those levels. So let's see how it handles if we try to make a move off of that. So good stuff there. Alma, what's going on? Thanks for tuning in. I hope you had a great weekend too. Let's take a look at CRM. Now this is a very interesting one. So CRM just got added to the Dow Jones Industrial Average, right? So it's a big deal, right? So we got a big gap off of that. Everything's awesome, right? Had a big move off of earnings. That's great. And then it's kind of pulling back and testing this gap right here. So it needs to show some strength. It needs to get over the 8-day moving average. It needs to get some volume in there too to try to work its way back up. Otherwise, it may continue to chip below each time it cracks these lows into this open gap below. So we need to watch that. And what else do we want to look at? The software sector, right? So big news this weekend in the software sector. So TikTok picked Oracle over Microsoft, right? What do we talk about? We talk about where Microsoft goes, so goes the software sector, right? So Microsoft might get hit pretty hard off of that TikTok news. So if Microsoft is really weak tomorrow, watch CRM to see if it really starts to push into that gap. So that's very interesting as well. So let's take a look at Save. Again, airline industry, another good sector to keep an eye on, right? So this thing's been chopping around for a while. It's been given some interesting day trade type moves on these names, but really what it's doing is it's forming a triangle right here. So we're really looking for some volume breakout one way or the other on that one. And then TMUS. Yep, so T-Mo, this thing's been just so crazy choppy, right? Remember this potential flag it was working on, tried to break out right here, just was blah, right? So the volume was really just kind of, it was increasing, but it wasn't anything amazing, right? So it ended up pulling back right here to the 50-day moving average. Let's see if it holds right here. So this has been a tough one to trade, especially swing. It just gets really choppy for a while, and we really need to see some real volume on it to see if we can get going again, like some news or something interesting, right, to get things going on it. So good stuff. Thanks, Alma. I appreciate it. Trelly, what's going on? Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, so the workhorse Nikola Tesla electric vehicle stuff going on, right? So again, guys, workhorse, such a tough one, right? So it'll break out, then it'll break your heart, right? So it gave a good push recently, right? It's kind of holding right now. It looks strong, then it's weak, then it's strong. We got to see how it goes on Monday, right? On this one, it's so tricky, but it can give some interesting setups intraday. Tesla, of course, one of our go-to list names. Is just always one we keep on the radar. It bounced off the 50-day moving after face planting into the 50-day moving average in the bump line. Give a nice couple-day move up right here. It's still below its ADMA moving average. It could be making a bear flag right here. I know the Tesla Q are like really excited about that. We'll see how it goes, right? It still held the prior day's lows pretty well on Friday, right? It had some choppy action, so we got to just kind of see what we got going on. Apparently, Elon Musk recently said for Battery Day, right, they're going to have some cool new stuff going on too, so we'll see how wild that gets after that. I tell you, it's still been pretty wild even after the stock split. So we'll see how it goes. Again, all this stuff, guys, all this stock split stuff, everybody gets excited about it, right? But, anytime everybody thinks it's going to go up after something, right, tends to do the opposite, right? It's kind of one of the things to look at right there. So see how it holds, right? Let's look for some consolidation, then we'll look for some breakout opportunities on it. Anki, what's going on? Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, let's take a look at CVX. Again, yeah, nice one. So Shirley looked at this one too. Again, still breaking down pretty nicely right here, guys. I mean, we're definitely at this point it looks like we're really kind of trending down right here below the 80 EMA. It's kind of cruising right there. So just kind of see how it holds the trend line, the 80 EMA. Look for retest of those levels for maybe some more downside action on it. So we'll see how that goes on that, unless oil could somehow get strong. Right, Oxy was on our bearish radar the other day. That worked out great. Gave us some nice downside movement. Right, we talked about here, doji sandwich, push its way down a little bit lower. Shadow offers some key levels right here. Right, the recent lows are 9. Right, so that's a big level to kind of track there on Oxy. BA, of course. So BA, pretty interesting stuff, guys. It just does not want to give up this triangle whole area. I mean, really what we could do is we could kind of push this triangle back over right here. It just continues and continues to just kind of chop around, right? So there we go right there. So a little bit of a bounce right there. It is below the clouds. The 80 EMA is down. The 8's below the 50. So we got that going on, but it is not letting go easily, right? So it's like, oh, breaking down the more, and oh, just kidding, right? Then it pulls back again and then kind of up again. So a little bit of choppy action at the end of the day, but it definitely gave an awesome reversal on Friday. So we'll see how that holds. Again, I want to see it get back above these clouds and over the 200-day moving average, try to get going again. Otherwise, we might see, that a little bit more of that kind of intraday downside action. Let's take a look at GS. So Goldman, again, just super duper choppy right now, right? These financials are really important. We'll be talking about this sector this week, kind of triangulating this area right here. We're back below the cloud, below the 80 EMA, which is below the 200. The 50 is still above the 200, right? It's just a super duper choppy area right here. We need to see some breakouts out of these levels, right? So need some good news. And then Dow. All right. Yeah, nasty on that one. Nasty upper shadow here off of its freshly formed 200-day moving average. Again, volume not good, right? So it's tough to get really, really short on these without seeing some increased volume. It did it here, right? So this is some nice downside volume right here. Great follow through the downside on that. Now it's kind of chopping around. It just seems now it hits its 80. The 80 EMA looks like a trend line. So when it hits that, it bounces down. So just kind of see how it handles that 80 EMA on that one. So good stuff. Yeah, so Coach, what's going on? Thanks for tuning in. See some option leap strategies. Talk about starting a quad witching day. So quad witching is when we have so we got 4. So this happens. Quad witching happens 4 times a year, right? It happens at the end of each quarter, right? So it's usually the expiration day. It's your option expiration day, right? So it's this week on the 18th. So you have your market index futures, you have your market index options, you've got your stock options, and then any stock future expirations that expire on the same day. So what it does, right? So what it means for us is really not much. Right, but it will mean a lot potentially on Friday, right? So what happens is that you have these options expiring, and so anybody that has long-term positions in anything is going to switch over to the next contract, right? So we've got the December contracts coming up. They're already out. But the September ones are done this week on the futures, right? So you'll see a lot of shenanigans going on and a lot of increased volatility, and then you have that last hour of the day. They call it quad witching hour. So Friday from 3 to 4 o'clock Eastern time, right before the market closes, a lot of times we see some crazy action, especially on the futures, right? Where they just like up, down, up, down, up, down, where they're trying to get things figured out and kind of sorted. So it just makes things a little bit more volatile. But in terms of like the strategies doing it, you just have to be careful. A lot of folks like to just kind of sideline during it because they don't like the crazy volatility that goes on in there. So that's really kind of the big thing about it. Okay, so good stuff there. SPK, what's going on? You got some stuff. Let's take a look. So you got shop on the radar. Let's take a look. Shop on the radar. Yeah, so we talked about that, looking at a potential bear flag right there. It did break down a little bit out of there, but it is holding the daily cloud. So let's see how that holds going into the rest of the week. BMY. BMY with an inside day right at the cloud right there, so let's see how it holds those levels and which way it decides to go off of that. AbbVie holding the 200-day moving average. Tesla we just looked at, so basically still holding its bump line right now. Let's see if we can get over the 80 EMA on that one. Rocket. So Rocket with some crazy moves after earnings, right? We talked about a potential bear flag right here, and also how it's testing the IPO highs, right? So that level right there, that high is 2276, and you can see we closed at 2275, just below the high of the IPO. So this is very interesting, right? We want that's going to be a key level. If that does not hold, good, there's a probability that we could see that open gap below. Silver, some silver names. Again, they're just hanging in there, right? So far, right? I mean, possible, kind of channel formation, possible flag. Just kind of see how that holds right here. But again, metals have been very strong recently, so definitely something to keep an eye on there. And then DKNG. right? So again, crazy price action, guys. Again, the pullbacks were viable to its original moving averages from the IPO, right? And now it's this kind of higher high, higher lowish type stuff. So we just got a high right here. So let's see, if we can get some sort of retrace off of that, right? If let's see, where are we? Just from this little pivot right here. Right, so yeah, kind of right at the 382 right here. So see if that holds. If it does, we might see a potential push back to the all-time highs. So good stuff. Matt, what's going on? Thanks for tuning in. Hope you had a great weekend too. Yeah, quick question. Do you have some advice for new traders in a trading rut? Been a rough few weeks. Well, this has not been easy, right? So, if you're out of your comfort zone, right, when things aren't trending, right, and things really start to break down, right, so that can be tough, right? So, obviously the big thing, as a new trader is don't be afraid to stand on the sidelines when this stuff is going and learn from the price action, right? You do not have to be in every day, right? That is one of the key things, right? So these type of breakdowns, right? That's why we have our trend lines, right? And this, as soon as we get in this trend box, as soon as we break a trend line, we go into full caution mode, right? Because we don't know what's happening. We don't know if there's going to be a fresh reversal in the market until we can confirm, or if we're just entering into a corrective pattern. We don't like trading in corrective patterns, right? I mean, there's still setups that happen on an intraday basis, but in terms of swinging, it's really tough, right? So when we talked about Elliott Wave last week, right? Corrective patterns, let me get the trend lines back up here. Corrective patterns are ABC patterns, right? And there's a lot of different, varieties of it, but generally it's ABC, right? We don't like to trade A waves. We don't like to trade B waves. We do like to trade C waves, because C waves could turn into the start of a bigger wave, right? But right now we don't really know where we're at, right? So it's this could be an A, this could be a B, we could be in a C wave right now, but we're really not confirming anywhere yet. So it makes it a little bit tricky. We have a lot of key levels. So really it's a good time to learn. It's a good time to focus on one name, type thing. If you like to focus on the SPY or the SPX, sometimes it's just to kind of watch and see how the price action is and how it handles its levels and how it behaves there. And it's just a good opportunity to study and kind of practice it. A lot of times I can get you out of the rut. It helps to focus on trader psychology. I would recommend picking up the Michael Douglas book or a Mark Douglas book on trader psychology, right? Trading in the Zone is a good one, and just take a week off when things are crazy until things start moving again, and read that and get your mind refreshed, right? So that'll really help you, and then you can use that time to refine your strategies too. So hopefully that's helpful. And then good stuff. Krishna, what's going on? Etsy, let's take a look. So Etsy, so Etsy's pretty interesting, right? A lot of upper shadows here. It's on our bearish radar. A lot of upper shadows at the 50-day moving average, right? It's in the cloud, right? We'll see how it goes. But if if Microsoft is weak and software is weak, keep an eye on Etsy right here. It might give a move down, right? So let's. I'm actually going to put that on the bearish radar for tomorrow. A lot of upper shadows are at the 50-day. So we'll see what kind of price action we get going into that. So that could be interesting. So so good. What else? And then GDX. Yeah, so GDX again, just we're really just kind of chopping around right now. It's holding, it's stable, right? And it's actually looking like a triangle right now. So we got this going on, and we got this going on. So it's getting pretty tight between levels right here. So let's look and see if we can break out and give us a move out of the triangle. It's kind of got the cloud here as potential support. 50-day moving average, 8 still over the 50. So tight range right here. Let's see if we can get a breakout on that one. So it's compressing and building energy. Truth, what's going on? Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. What levels are we watching for Oracle? Yeah, so let's take a look at Oracle. So again, TikTok stuff. I mean, we'll see where they try to gap this thing tomorrow. Had a crazy range on Friday, right? Big push down, right, off of earnings. Big reversal off of that, right? And just couldn't really get going. Why? Well, let's go see what we did, right? So we just upper shadowed off of the pre-market levels right here and just couldn't hold. Then a big inside 15, right? Upper shadow right here, broke down below the 15 order and just kind of came back and retested the prior levels below, held the 80 MA all the way down, right? So now for Oracle, right, obviously key level is going to be your all-time highs, right? You got this pivot level right here, this 59.37-ish area is going to be important. And it's possible they sell the news on it, right? Because they're going to be shelling out a ton of money for TikTok, right? $30 billion or something like that. So so maybe they sell the news on it, right? So these are all going to be key areas right here. All these pivot levels, 200-day moving average right here around 53.50, right? So these are all kind of like really important areas of interest. So we're definitely going to be seeing what they're up to with that one tomorrow. So good stuff. Alexander, what's going on? Thanks for tuning in. HPQ. Let's see how that's doing. So HPQ up 28 cents inside day. So it's getting really tight right here. Again, it could be kind of flagging right here. Inside day up. Let's just kind of see how it holds, if it can get above that geometric line on that one. So we'll see where that goes there. Great stuff. Tracy, what's happening? AV, VGO. Let's take a look. So I'm pretty sure that's what you meant. So yeah, it's kind of looking like a little bit of a pennant right here. Gave a great move, right, recently, and getting really tight right here, holding the upward trend line, right? So it bounced off of it over here, all right, getting tight again at that upper trend line. So let's even give a breakout move on that one. It's coming up on X dividend too, so just be a little bit careful with that. But other than that, yeah, let's see if it gets tight and give a breakout move over there. Roku, inside week this week on Roku, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, inside week, big upper shadow off of that one. Sorry guys, got some Elliott wave stuff in there. This is really messy. Oh, let's get a fresh, clean chart on that one. Here we go. So so Roku though is still holding its upward trend line. Right, so still holding trend, still holding the 50-day. It is under the 8. Right, we got a big upper shadow on the weekly. So just kind of see how it holds those weekly charts, those weekly levels. If it breaks down below here, below the trend line, it might start to work in this cloud. The thing is that it just loves this 140, 150 level. Right, it's just been so tight in here previously that this could actually be a bounce area if the market does try to get strong. So pretty interesting stuff there. Twilio. Just wait for confirmations, wait for moves and volume. Twilio, interesting, right? So this is a big sharp move down right here. Shortable move to the ADMA, back down again. Now you got to see how it holds these levels. Here's a prior double inside day level right here, right? See how it holds. It is below the cloud, so so it could be kind of, sort of weak going into tomorrow. Again, if software is weak, keep an eye on it, right? Very, very interesting stuff. So good, and then EW. Edwards, yeah, so it got below the ADMA right here. It's looking pretty kind of weak right here, but it could be kind of like a wedges type formation. It did have a nice move up. See how it holds these levels. And if we get back over the ADMA and try to break out of this this geometric area here, and then UPS. So FedEx has earnings this week, so UPS might move in sympathy with FedEx. A lot of folks are expecting FedEx to continue to be strong. We'll see. Obviously, binary event this week. So just kind of keep an eye on it. Real tight triangle range right here, inside day. It's been really, really tight since its recent move, right? So let's just see how it behaves off of the FedEx news. That should be a big one. So good stuff. Mike, what's going on? Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, silver. Yep, so silver again, still in its trend box range, right? So we broke down above this this bump trend line right here, right? And you know, started to move right here. So you kind of had this this A, B, C type formation. This is not a fresh wave one right now because we broke below that level right here. So really at this point, it's probably just triangulating, triangulating within the trend box, right? So let's see how that holds and see if we can give us a breakout candle one way or the other, and then see how it goes. If it does break out, right, it still might come back, retest, and then start going again. So we have to see how it goes, and it could go either way. Thierry, what's going on? Good evening. Let's take a look at Neo. So Neo, yeah, so it was fun for a while, and now it's just kind of doing its little choppy, sloppy type stuff in here, right? I mean, the reality is they only sold like 3,000 cars, supposedly. And so it's getting really, really tight right here. You know, a lot of key levels, just kind of see how it holds. I like the inside day up, kind of coming back down again. It's been pretty strong, just... again, see if we can give you a breakout candle on it one way or the other. Maybe we'll get some fun with the other names like Nikola. Yeah, so Nikola on the other hand, besides Workhorse, which we looked at earlier, Nikola just struggling, right? So big gap up here with GM. Right? You got to imagine a lot of folks are like, yeah, Nikola, it's gonna go up forever, and then it's just like, oh no, the Hindenburg report, and then Citron, and then just more downside movement, right? So it did a lot of crazy stuff right here, filled some gaps, and it's got some key levels right here around like this 30 level right here. This is kind of these lows right at 29, right? So that's going to be a big level for Nikola to try holding its own 200-day just below it. So very, very interesting stuff. Cecilia, how are you? Thanks for tuning in. So save again, tight triangle range inside the cloud. Let's see if we can give a breakout one way or another. Jay, what's going on? Good. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you being here. So, Coach, so if you're in tech, January leap, that's currently 40% in the red, is it time to exit because it's January play? That's a good question. I don't particularly like being in the red anyway. It's a tough call on that one. I mean, tech just got hit right now. We just got to see how it behaves and see how it handles this this corrective pattern, right? So, I can't really say whether or not, it's no fun to be red. I know that. So, I mean, you got till January. If it rallies its way back up, there's potential on it. You just really got to kind of pay attention to the price action and see, if it looks like it's going to lead its way back up. Right now, we're just kind of in this corrective pattern, so we don't know, right? We really just don't know what's going on, which way it's going to go. Because it could start that zigzag, right? Because we had that text made that move, and that gave a little bit of bounce right here. That third wave could lead it back down, and then it's even worse. Right, and then it starts to rally its way back up. So we just want to see. A lot of times we just like to wait until corrective waves finish, right? So Heather, what's going on? I hope you're doing well. Thanks for tuning in. And then Chewy. So what a move on Chewy, guys. So again, good earnings, right? Better than expected earnings, and good revenue, and down off of that. Same with Piton, right? Again, very, very similar type formation. Up here, down again. You know, it's got a little bit of room if it wants to go to the downside here at the bottom of the cloud, but if it holds that cloud, it might start to work its way back up again. Again, this thing got hot for a while, you know, and it is holding its upward trend line right here. We're right at it in the 50-day moving average too. So kind of a key area right here after earnings. So we need to see how that holds. This prior geometric line might come into play if we get above it, right? We might get over the 80-MA and see where it goes. But again, got to be careful with Chewy. It's you know, sometimes for swings it'll give you a couple days and then it just goes dot 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 for a while. Here it's like up for a couple days and dot dot dot. So this is really tough area to hold anything, right? So let's see how it goes. Let's look for some options on it and see if it can rally off of this and give us some plays. Otherwise, a breakdown below here, right? Could see some more downside movement. So good stuff. And then Piton, yeah, exactly, good stuff. Cecilia, my pleasure. Cecilia, every time you tune in, I think of like the old Simon and Garfunkel song. So you're breaking my heart. Anyway, good stuff. So that's anyway, that's Workhorse. But Tracy, yeah. So Piton, let's take a look. So yeah, Piton, nasty pullback right here, but right to the 80 MA, very interesting area. Let's see if it can bounce off of that. So so that could be one to keep on the radar too going in tomorrow. We'll see. Maybe some analysts will come out and defend it tomorrow and be like, hey, this is overdone. You know, Piton's really strong, and then they upgrade it and you know starts to work its way back up again. So we'll see how that goes. Bull Bear, what's going on? Good to see you. Yeah, let's take a look at Nav. Let's take a look at Nav. Yeah, Navistar. Yeah, nice gap up here off of earnings. Still holding the gap. Again, key level here is just to see if we can get a momentum move back through that that gap up high. Otherwise, you know, we kind of have to see how it defends this gap, and then you know maybe you'll get like an inside day here, and then it'll just kind of like you know give you a little push through those levels. So a little bit tricky there, but I do like how it gapped up there. Here's the prior highs right here, which is interesting, right at the right where we gap. So we'll see if it starts to form a fresh wave to the upside and get it going. And hopefully this is a breakaway gap and it keeps moving, right? So that's the idea right there. Otherwise, watch these lows again. Look for any potential weakness there to come back and fill that gap. So good stuff. All right, guys. Well, I really appreciate everybody for tuning in this evening. Awesome questions tonight and great chart requests. It's a cool week, guys. Sector rotation is really, really important. It happens all the time in the market. Big money, if the market's not crashing, needs a place to park their money. If it's coming out of somewhere else, they're probably putting it somewhere else too. So we look to ride those waves in those sectors that have relative strength. So good stuff, guys. I really appreciate everybody for tuning in. I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of your evening. Stay healthy out there, and remember your risk first and stay safe so you can stay in the game. Oh, and be sure, if you're new here, definitely click subscribe on YouTube and also hit the like button, whether you're watching the recording or not. We always appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Have a great night, and we'll catch you guys bright and early tomorrow for the Good Morning Market Prep on